So, and let's just get started with the destroyer. And the destroyers, I would definitely recommend the United States destroyers. And starting with Samson to Nicholas, well, you have very good speed, you have very good torpedoes. Well, I mean, just very good matchup against the battleships. In the early game, well, Farragut is a little bit tricky. I don't really enjoy it that well, but Mahan and Benson, these are just very, very OP ships if you know how to use it correctly. Well, Fletcher, it's still good, but it's not as good as Benson. Well, Benson's just very, very OP. Well, I mean, engine accelerator is it's a perfect skill for destroyers. In my opinion, every destroyer needs it, and I do think every destroyer has it. Smoke generator is very good because the torpedoes doesn't really have that kind of a long range. Well, 6.9 kilometers is actually good already, but I do think that Mahan has a little bit less. 6.6, but I mean, yeah, 6 point something kilometers is very good. But it's still in the high tier, it's still relatively close to the battleship, and sometimes it's really worth risking getting even closer to the secondary range of the secondary guns of the battleship, and with the engine accelerator to land so all of your torpedoes, because I mean you can stay safe in a wider range like 7 kilometers and then land those wide range torpedoes and maybe hit 5 of them, 5 out of 10. But I'm that kind of the player who do this kind of suicide mission to just charge with engine accelerator with the full speed of around 43 knots or something against the battleship, which is very fast. You just have to pick the right angle. You have to how do I say it? Well, analyze the position. Just well, sometimes it's good, sometimes you just get wrecked. Well, maybe I will just upload some of my gameplays with Benson well later in other videos. But this is where smoke generator comes in handy, because if the enemy doesn't have a sonar and or radar, then it is very difficult to detect you with the smoke generator, and you can, with the small size with the destroyer, you can really get covered up completely, and also give you precious time to escape. And also the mobility is very good. Well, very high speed, very only 3 seconds of turn time, very, very good main guns, which is very interesting. Only a very low reload time, very fast turret traverse speed, and I always use the HE, like a very good HE damage, setting of fire 3%, which seems low, but I mean, you can fire 5 times during each 3.6 seconds, and normally I could set the enemy on fire 2 to 3 times in general, and that is way more than enough for a destroyer. And it also, with the smoke generator, it provides a perfect matchup against all of the other destroyers in a 1v1 match. And it is not like, yeah, you just do some 1v1 match. It's just like in those modes, those maps where you have to capture an area where you are very likely to meet another destroyer. And you could either run away, try to fight it, or try to destroy it. But with Benson, it is really worth trying, because against Japanese destroyers, against the other destroyers, Benson really have a very good matchup. And while playing it, I do really have no problem facing the other destroyers. And normally, most of the time, I am the one who like launch torpedo and finish them. Rather than get wrecked. Well, I only get wrecked for a few times, but not by the other destroyers, but normally by other Benson or Fletcher. So yeah, definitely recommending. And then it comes to the Japanese destroyers. You have 2 lines, and you the main line, first of all, you have very good speed, very, very fast speed actually, but and also, yeah, also engine accelerator, or I mean, like how do you Akatsuki has a very fast speed. Kagero, Yumugo, they also have very good speed. I mean, for destroyers, 40 knots is good enough. And it is the thing about it is that you have a very, very long range of torpedo, which is very good. So it does have smoke screen starting from tier 8, but I do think in tier 7 you don't have a smoke screen. And you have level 2 engine accelerator, which is also more of a boost. It does has a relatively long reload time of the torpedoes though, but comparing to its long range, it is acceptable. And also you can use some equipment to make it shorter. And with long range torpedoes, it has a different playstyle since the cannons on the main line of Japanese destroyers are very, very bad. It has a very, very low turning speed and also very long reload time. So, 1v1 matchup against the other destroyers, I don't think it's favorable. And also with those kind of long reload time, like insanely long reload time of torpedoes, I don't think it's a very good wise idea to waste those torpedoes on destroyers, and which normally wouldn't hit. Because in the high tier, like everybody knows how to dodge torpedoes. They should know, and especially it's easy with a destroyer. Well, as a smoke generator is of course useful, but with long range torpedo, the thing is that the long range torpedoes, you could snipe the enemies, but normal it is also a very high chance of missing. It has a very high damage, it has a very high speed, and I do believe it is not that easy to get detected, its torpedo. Okay, high torpedo detectability, and that's the problem. Like, if the enemy could detect you, or your torpedoes from a distance, then normally they will try to dodge. And normally, if you only land like 3 hits out of, 8 or 9, then it is not that good considering how long you have to reload. And like I said, you don't really have that kind of a smoke screen, very bad guns. So basically, it is kind of a sniping game. But you have to calculate precisely. But still, doesn't matter how much you calculate, there's still a chance of you missing. That's why I'm that kind of player who likes to go really, really close to battleship and ensure all of the torpedoes hit, because that's really a lot of damage. Well, that's the meme that guy with that a lot of damage man. But the torpedoes really deals a lot of damage, and it really takes a long time to reload, so it's kind of a waste just to miss it. And now we have the newer Japanese line with the destroyers. They kind of fixed the problems of the main line of Japanese destroyers. That is, they do have smoke screen. They do have a very, very fast speed. I hope. Yeah, they do have fast speed. Or well, around 14 knots, I would say, with the accelerator. I think it's acceptable. And they do have improved guns. Like the guns could fire. They have much more guns. The guns could fire faster, and the turn travel speed is much faster. Still not as good as the guns from Benson, the American destroyers, though. And also one of the oops, I'm looking at the wrong one. Yeah, this is the one. But still, the problem is that you don't really have that much torpedoes. That's the problem. Like, you do have torpedo reload, but even with that, like for example, like Akitsuki, you have 4 torpedoes. Kitakatsu, you have 5. Shiratsuyu, I would assume that you have you don't have you have 8. So not really that much torpedoes, even with torpedo reload, but you can use it only once every 120 seconds. It does have smoke screen though, but still it is relatively difficult to play. So yeah, and also for it also has the same problem like long range torpedo, but very, very long reload time, and it's not that good in 1v1 destroyer battles in an area either. So yeah, and no, I kind of made a mistake by saying they have a very fast speed. I just want to say that actually they don't really have that much of fast speed, like comparing to the mainline of Japanese destroyers. The mainline of the Japanese destroyers, so Akatsuki, Kakeru, Yukumu, and Shimakatse, they have a relatively fast speed, but the new line doesn't, and they have a relatively weak torpedo, which is not really that much a deal. Oops, no, sorry, I have to reject the battle. So that's kind of not very good exchange in my opinion, because torpedo is the most important thing other than the speed and stealth in the destroyers. That's basically the only thing that you could deal damage. Like, you are not driving a destroyer and going to a battleship or a cruiser and shooting cannons and guns at them sometimes, but yeah, that would be dumb, because like you will just get wrecked. And if you have weaker torpedoes, then it's not really that good of a deal, in my opinion. So, of course, I mean, the main line of the Japanese destroyer, yeah, it's more difficult to play than the American ones, I do think. But if you're a player that likes stealth, like staying behind and doing the sniping things, then Japanese destroyer is definitely a good deal. But like I said, it's more difficult to play than the American destroyers. And the German destroyers, they're also relatively new. I do face Z-23 quite often. But the thing is, they don't really have that many torpedoes comparing to the American ones, and they're not that fast. Well, I mean, they are fast, but I don't think they're as fast as the American ones. They have this engine accelerator, which is good. They don't have smoke screen though. That's kind of a bummer. Well, it has a mediocre torpedo, like 7.5 kilometers, but I mean, 7.5 kilometers. It is also very close to the surface detection, and even though you can reduce the surface detection, but it's still. But anyway, by no means it's bad, and also it has very good guns. That's very long range, very good guns, and you also have sonar, which is very good for detecting torpedoes, detecting other destroyers. So by no means bad, and I still prefer the American destroyers. But like I said, I didn't try it out. I do play against Z-23 though, and it does really have some problems when it's going closer to the trying to land hits on the battleships, because you don't have the smoke screen. But on 1v1 the destroyer battle, it does has a good matchup, and by no means bad. And I mean, it's also quite good, to be honest. And now we have the Soviet destroyers, which is kind of interesting in my opinion, because for a destroyer they have a insanely short range of torpedoes of 4.5 kilometers. And for me, to be honest, it's not a problem, because even though Benson has a 6.9, I would say, if I remember it correctly, I always ram up against the battleships and launch all of the torpedoes to secure all of the hits. And the thing is, they have a very, very high speed. All of the Soviet destroyers, they have very, very high speed. And that is really, really a plus for the destroyers. And you also have engine accelerator, which is, I mean, a must. And the torpedoes are okay. I mean, they're not as that much as the, for example, the American ones. But I mean, 8 torpedoes, that's standard. That's okay with its high speed. And they also have a relatively low reload time, very, very low, like when you comparing to the Japanese, of course, but also comparing to the Americans. Like in Benson, I have almost 60-second reload time, but the Soviets almost half of that. And the thing is, they also have a very good guns. So very fast turn traverse speed, very nice main guns. They even have a rapid reload for the destroyer, which is very interesting. I think. Well, rapid reload is just not a thing for a destroyer, in my opinion. But because your main weapon should be your torpedo, not your guns. But I mean, yeah, it's better than nothing. It's good against the other destroyers. The only thing is, how do I say it? How do I say it? Well, you have a very short range of torpedo, and in order to land a hit, you must get very close to the enemy. But the problem is you don't have smoke screen, and that's the problem. So you have to expose yourself. Like the range is 4.5 kilometers, and surface detection is around 6 kilometers. So the enemy have time to attack you or to dodge your torpedoes. And it could be difficult. If defend properly, you shouldn't be able to land a hit. Oh yeah, yeah, sorry that I have to decline, because yeah, maybe I'll explain him later. Yeah, so I don't really recommend that the Soviet destroyers. When playing battleships, I don't think I have that much of a problem. Like, that is, if they have the smoke screen, which they have in Khabarovsk, then it will be very, very OP, I assume. But sadly, like, you have to survive until tier 10 in order to have that. But on the others, like, I mean, the speed is excellent, the skills are excellent, and the guns are good. The torpedoes short range shouldn't be that much of a problem, but I mean, like, everything except for the smoke screen. I mean, it is very important to have a smoke generator. For example, the the one like Leningrad, where you have to pay to get a battleship, for example, they have 2 smoke generators. I mean, it is very important. And then we have the Asian destroyers. And I mean, it's very similar to the American ones, so I'm just not going to talk that much about that. Like, for example, the Tier 8 Xianyang, it literally says it's a Gleavis. Where is this? Fletcher. So the Tier 9 is basically Fletcher. The Tier 8 is basically a Benson, and you basically just add in radar. The skills are basically the same, the stats are basically the same, the guns are good, the torpedoes are good. Well, they have a. The thing is that the only difference is, one of the major differences is basically the torpedoes. They have deep water torpedoes, which is very stealth, like not very easy to detect, very long range and very high damage, but it can't hit the destroyers. So basically you gain something and you lose something. So basically in 1v1 destroyer battle, like, you just have to run away because your torpedoes can't hit them and their torpedoes can't hit you, and that's the problem. But I mean, other than that, it's kind of a buff because the purpose of destroyers are basically to attack battleships and sometimes the cruisers. So with buffed damage, like improved damage on the torpedoes and also on the stealth and on the range, I mean, why not? But it is difficult, as like I said, it could get annoyed by the other destroyers. But by no means they're bad. Like, they're just American destroyers, but we're again with better torpedoes, but a worse matchup against the destroyers. And I believe that's it. And hopefully the videos is helpful for you. And like I said, choosing is your freedom. You can choose whatever you want. I still think that you should choose a cruiser if you're just beginning to play the game. And very, very important, by no means choose the American battleships. And maybe in the future I would, how do I say? I will upload some videos of my gameplay. And yeah, that's it. Thank you for watching.